Hello, nerds for Yang.
Hello, nerds!
Hello, nerds!
Hello, nerds!
Hello, nerds!
So nerds.
Hello, nerds!
Now with this campaign, bang, dang, it's and true. Come roll with the Yang Gang.
Hello, nerds. Nerds for Humanity. Been a while since I've done a live stream. So after watching that amazing convention, thought we would do a state of the race. I do have a show coming up this Sunday. So we've got actually a couple of streams this Sunday. We have Antoine Pierce, who's running for the U.S. Senate. He is going to be on the November ballot, and he has been endorsed by Humanity Forward. And then we have Laura, I think it's Laura of Innovation in Democracy and how we can save our democracy with some new concepts. And so that'll be this Sunday. So check it out. If you are interested, I'll be talking all about it. And in the meantime, I do want to tell you a little bit about what's going on in the state of the race. Is Donald Trump going to do another big upset? Or is maybe Biden the guy that's locking it down, especially with this Harris pick? So let's take a look at some data. Before we get into that, we're going to be talking about polls, betting odds, search trends, and media coverage. So check it out. If you are interested in that stuff, you've come to the right stream. Before we get into that, I do want to just say hi to all the nerds out there. I'm coming to you from the San Francisco Bay Area, where I've moved about a month ago now. And as some of you guys know, I was in Switzerland, or as many Americans call it, Sweden, for the last 4 years, ever since, even before I started this channel. But I'm glad to be back in the States and interested in seeing where are all my nerds logging in from. So let us know where you're from. I think I see Mindful Skeptics is in the house. Hello, nerds. Where is Mindful Skeptics? What state? Is it Ohio? Remind me, Mindful Skeptics. Oh, sorry. Michigan. Very good point. A crucial state, as we will see. Hopefully we can get it okay. Okay, with the fires. The closest fire is about an hour's drive from here, and I know because my kids wanted to go see it. But I told them that A, it was probably not going to be super safe, and B, and I think it would have been like 90-minute drive. So luckily that seems to be a little more under control at the moment. Hold on, get the fan closer, getting a little warm in here. But yeah, anybody who says that climate change is just a hoax, I don't know, man. You got these fires, these sort of intense weather patterns, these droughts, it just doesn't feel super good for humans. Mindful Skeptics is like, hell no to Ohio. King Mortar from California. Kang's from California. Oh, we got Florida in the house. D-Ray, I hope you vote. Whatever direction you vote in, just vote. Vote early. Colorado, Oklahoma, and Iowa. Iowa. I love Yang Gang, and I love Yang Gang from Iowa. But Iowa disappointed a lot of us in terms of the caucus goers, at least. But, that was 2020. 2024 will be here before you know it. So before we get into the data, I feel like I got my guest on Sunday wrong. So let me look up the full name here. I'm such a terrible host. I still need to read that book. I'm going to have to cram because I want to try and have a thoughtful conversation. Let's see here. Huh? Where is it? Catherine Gell. Catherine Gell. Not Laura, not Linda, and not Gear. Catherine Gell, who wrote the book, The Politics Industry, How Political Innovation Can Break Partisan Gridlock and Save Our Democracy. So if that sounds interesting to you, check it out this Sunday. And know that the co-author of that book, for all of you business nerds, is none other than Michael Porter from Harvard Business School, who also wrote and invented Porter's 5 Forces. I think it's 5 Forces. It's been a while. Toer's 5. You're a hater from New Jersey. Love it. Love it. Trumpers in the house. We got Wisconsin represented. And then New Jersey, Garden State again. Another Garden Stater. All right. Maryland. Ooh, the great state of Washington. Used to live there. All right. So let's get into the data. Share screen. Polls. Latest polls. Oh, actually, there's a better view right here. You can tell this is a live stream. So unprepared. Here we go. Will this expand for me? No? If not, I'll go back to my other view. Come on, real clear. So slow. Forget it. Let's go the old-fashioned way. All right, so the last poll we have is released this Friday. Biden up by 8, according to the Hill-Harris poll. And let's see if we can dive into some more details. What in the Sam Hill happened here? Oh, this links to a video. No, I don't want to watch a video. I want to see the raw data. Maybe I'll click on this guy. Oh, look at this. So you've got the Economist YouGov. This must have just come out. And this one was just the last couple of days. Today is the 21st, so 16th to the 18th would have been last Sunday until Tuesday. So it would have caught a little bit of the convention, but certainly not the whole thing. But let's see if we can see some. So one thing I should note about this whole Trump-Biden thing is look here at this column. You'll notice this column on the right showing the spread. Basically, let's see when was the last time that Donald Trump was polling better than Joe Biden. When was Trump in the lead? Because if you look here, there's a lot of Biden pluses. Some of them are as high as plus 10. plus 13. And then the closest one is a plus 3, looks like. But when is the last one where Trump was plus anything? And we're going all the way back to June now. No, not June. What about May? No. How about April? Okay, Trump did get a tie in April. And then he had another tie in early April. March, no, nothing for Trump. Okay, so the last time Trump was beating Biden in a poll was an Emerson poll in February. And then prior to that was a USA Today poll in December, and then one in November. So pretty much since COVID, Trump has never really led Biden, which kind of shows you how kind of influential this COVID response stuff probably has been for the president's low ratings. But let's see if I can dig into some more of the details, because this is oh yes, I love it, guys. All right, so let's look at some highlights here, like direction of the country. Would you say things in this country are on the right track or wrong track? And it turns out that 24% think the country is going in the right track, and 66% wrong track, 10% not sure. So basically, 3 out of 4 in this country think that we are either on the wrong track or they don't know. And 1 out of 4, they think we are on the right track. And then when you break it down by demographics, who thinks we're on the best track? It would appear that from income, seems pretty similar, whether you're under 50 all the way to 100 or more. Education, pretty similar. Gender is probably the biggest difference, where 29% of men feel like we're on the right track, but only 19% of women feel like we're on the right track. And then when you look at age, let's see here. Oh, I found some old coffee. Let's just do it. Oh, yeah, that's a little old. I may have to go for a water break in a few minutes, but anyway, for age, if you're 65 and older, you're a little more likely to think that we're going on the right track. And then if you are any other age, you generally think we're on the wrong track. And then if you are white, you are twice as likely to think that we are on the right track than if you are Black, Hispanic, or other. And then if you live, maybe Midwest and South are a little more right trackers, 26% versus 20% in the Northeast and 21% in the West. So TLDR, I would say most people feel like we are not on the right track. Now, so that's the right track, wrong track. We're not going to go through everything. Ooh, what about that Middle East deal? What was the deal? I think the UAE agreed to recognize Israel in exchange for Israel suspending further annexation of occupied territory on the West Bank. And that was brokered by none other than Jared Kushner. So what do people think of this deal? How he's handling the Middle East in general? Well, maybe the same people who think we're on the right track, 1 out of 4 strongly approve, and actually 1 out of 5 somewhat approve. So roughly, looks like 41% either somewhat approve or strongly approve, and then a little more than half disapprove or aren't sure. Males, again, lead females in terms of their approval of the Trump handling in the Middle East. And then in terms of college graduates, much more likely to strongly disapprove. Well, some college also strongly disapprove, 35%. Postgrads, almost 40% strongly disapprove. But I wouldn't say it's a huge difference. I think on the Middle East handling, you'll see maybe a little bit, ooh, look at this. For race, only 3% of blacks strongly approve of the Middle East handling, whereas 28% of whites. And then for older people, strongly approve of Trump handling Middle East, and then younger people tend to strongly disapprove. Almost about 34% strongly disapprove of the young folks. Sorry, 34% of the young folks strongly disapprove of Trump Middle East, whereas 38% of older folks strongly approve. All right, so that's the Middle East. Let's see here. People I know worn a face mask in public. I would imagine that's going to be pretty high. Yeah, that's good. 90% of the people polled do wear a face mask, or they have worn a face mask in public. And male and female is similar. And even education level is similar. Well, that's very encouraging. And age group, also really nice mask kind of adoption lately. I think that just goes to show you, I don't know what that would have been before, but I know that when the president agreed to wear a mask, I think he started wearing a mask in June in public. I think that does have a big deal. It has a big impact on how people, kind of behave and whether or not they take this pandemic seriously. All right, what else is interesting here? Where in the pandemic are we? So most people think it's going to get worse. That's sad. 41% do believe it will get worse. I mean, it's unfortunate. 21% think it's the worst part is behind us, or we're in the worst part now. And in terms of college education, the high school or less folks are more pessimistic. The post-grad folks are slightly more optimistic, I suppose. And then income level, poorer people think things will get worse. And the richer people, less likely to think things will get worse. And then when you look at race, I would say it's fairly similar. I think on this pandemic, I mean, that's kind of encouraging. I know there was a time when the predominant thinking was that this COVID thing was just a hoax, a Democrat witch hunt or whatever. So I think now we all agree that it's not manufactured by, MSNBC or anything like that. When you look at the voters, 40% of registered voters think it will get worse. 60% of Biden voters think it will get worse. Interesting. Only 15% of Trump voters think it will get worse. And almost half of Trump voters think the worst is behind us. And about a fifth of them thinks that we are currently in the worst part. So that is a pretty significant difference between the Trump and Biden voters. And then not sure, that's pretty much the same. So I would say probably the biggest difference is right here. Look at this, 60% of Biden voters think that things will get worse, and only 15% of Trump voters do. So that could be an example of, if you think this COVID thing is a big deal and it will get worse, then you're more likely to want a change of leadership. But if you think like, actually it's all V-shaped recovery and this is just going to go away pretty soon, then maybe Trump's your guy. All right, let's see. Respondents' biggest concern. Which one are you most concerned about? Protecting Americans from COVID or protecting Americans from the economic effects of COVID? Health effects versus economic effects. That's interesting. More people are concerned about the health effects than the economic effects. 58% health, 42% economic. And then if you go by voters, 83% of Biden voters are worried about their health, and 77% of Trump voters are worried about the economic impact, which kind of makes sense. Like maybe this explains why Trump has been so keen to reopen the economy. But I just glanced at the chat, and Tor's Fire saying that Peter is cooler. He is, man. Peter is definitely cooler. Like if you're going to a Miami Beach nightclub, you don't want to be rolling with me. However, if you go to a bank, or if you go to a company meeting, or you need to solve a hard problem, then I think Peter may not be exactly the guy you want to be riding shotgun with. But let's go back to the polls here. Are you better off now than 4 years ago? The $1 million question. 40% of the people are better off now. 40% were better off 4 years ago, and 20% aren't sure. And let's see by age. Looks like fairly similar. Not a big difference with the age. 20% of blacks feel like they're better off now, and 54% feel like they were better off 4 years ago. Hispanics, almost half, feel like they were better off now. So that's interesting. And then if we look at, so this is quite evenly split, which makes you wonder, like, wow, this race could really tighten up if basically 1 out of 5 are not sure if they're better off now, probably waiting to see the effects of the pandemic response. And then of the voters, 70% of Trump voters feel like they were better off now. And 70% of Biden voters feel like they were better off 4 years ago. So shocker, like just complete inverted images of each other. What else is interesting here? Support for mandatory mask policy. Looks like 70% either strongly or somewhat support a mandatory mask policy. More women than men strongly support. Education is pretty similar. Postgrads are a little stronger support. money has nothing to do with masks. Everybody, about 50% of every economic group strongly supports. And then in terms of age, very similar across ages. So masks is, I think, no longer like a political thing. I mean, oh, no, maybe it is. Only 23% of Trump supporters strongly support a mandatory mask policy in public places. And 1 out of 3 Trump supporters strongly oppose any policy that requires masks in public. So these are, I guess, I think the favorable interpretation is these are people who really feel like the government should not get involved in face coverings. But there you go. So big differences there. Let's see. Wow, there's so many great questions. I love these polls. Get vaccinated. If and when a corona vaccine becomes available, will you get vaccinated? Holy moly. Oh my God. This is surprising. Only 43% say yes. Even with the Operation Warp Speed. So if we pull this off and we get this vaccine, 1 out of 4 are like, no way, not going to get it. I'll let the herd take care of it. 30% are kind of like still thinking about it. That's, yeah, I'm kind of surprised. I would have said yes. I don't know if I'd get it like the first day, but I'd definitely get it. I want to get back to normal, man. I don't think this lockdown life is that good. It kind of sucks. All right, so that's the vaccination stuff. Let's see. Attention to the 2020 election. How much attention have you paid to the campaign for president? 1 out of 3 say a lot, and 63%, 2 out of 3, at least some, and only 10% say none. That's pretty interesting. That's great. I think people are leaned in. And then if you break it down by age, well, the older folks, almost half of the 65-year-olds, basically as you cross into middle age, you care more deeply about politics, I suppose. But still, 1 out of 4 18 to 29-year-olds are watching it a lot. That seems pretty encouraging. And then in terms of the races, pretty similar between white and black, a little less with the Hispanics. Region, the West Coast is big into politics. And, really the South and Northeast, maybe the Midwest is a little softer in terms of following the politics a lot. And then if you look at the voters, registered voters, Trump voters less leaned in, only about 1 out of 4 are only watching it a little, whereas 16% of Biden supporters are doing it a little, and 82% of Biden voters are some or a lot, and 71% of Trump voters. So Trump voters are a little bit less interested in following it, but still, 7 out of 10 are at least following it some. So that is the following the election. And then now let's get into who the heck they're going to. Oh, what about enthusiasm? Voting enthusiasm. Comparing to voting in previous elections, are you more or less enthusiastic about voting in this year's election? Half are more enthusiastic, and then 28% are same. So only 16% are less enthusiastic. And the most enthusiastic appear to be Well, they're kind of evenly split based on education and income. A little bit more with the high school and less, and a little bit more with the 100K earners. And then in terms of the age, wow, the 65 and older are way more interested. 70% are more enthusiastic than 4 years ago. And remember, this was 4 years ago, was a pretty fired up election with Trump and Hillary. So if 71% are more enthusiastic, that's pretty incredible. Yeah. And then in terms of race, pretty similar across the races and regions. Okay. And then Biden voters, 54% are way more enthusiastic than Hillary versus Trump, and 60% of Trump voters are more enthusiastic. So this idea that Trump voters are just like melting away, I don't know. At least the ones that have decided to go for Trump are still with him. Like, they are freaking pot committed. They're not going anywhere. They're not going to fold that hand. No, sir. They're gonna go down in a blaze of glory. All right, let's see. Or maybe they will own the libs, and we'll all be trying to figure out what the hell happened on November 4th, assuming we know. By the way, one thing you should keep in mind is, like, we probably won't know on November 4th, and most likely, Mike Madrid explained this to me in a previous live stream. You can go look it up. It's he's one of the co-founders of the Lincoln Project. And he was like, yeah, just based on demographics, the early voters tend to trend towards the conservative ticket. And then late voters tend to be more on the Democratic side. And then the mail-in ballots will tend to trend towards Democratic side. So what you'll see is Trump will basically be ahead on the afternoon, early evening of November 3rd. And then he will start losing his lead by the late evening. And then on November 4th, when we start getting some mail-ins and some really late reporting districts, he'll be tied. And then probably by November 5th, 6th, 7th, he will lose. But it will be perfect opportunity for him to say, look, I won. And then these Democrats stole it from me in this rigged election. So just know, like, that's going to be the talking points. But it's more has to do with historically late voters tend to vote Democrat. Early voters tend to vote Republican. It's the way it's always been. It's the way it maybe it always will be. But you can almost see it now. Like, I think Trump is already conceding the race in some ways because he keeps talking about how, it's rigged and all this stuff. All right, let's get back to some more data. Okay. So we did the enthusiasm. So that was voter enthusiasm. What about candidate enthusiasm? A lot of people saying, like, nobody really is enthusiastic about Biden. 24% are enthusiastic about Biden, but the rest are either satisfied but not upset, and even 28% right now are upset. This is before the completion of the convention. I suspect there might be a little bit of a convention bounce. If you guys didn't see that Biden little bio video, you definitely got to see it. And maybe what I'll do is I'll play it when I go take my break to fill up my coffee mug with some water. But before we get into that, so 24% enthusiastic about Biden. Not a big difference by education or income. And then by age, now about 1 in 4 of everybody, except 53% of Black voters, are enthusiastic. So that's really interesting. So certainly came out in South Carolina. And then obviously of 45% of the people who are going to vote for Biden are enthusiastic. And then 43% are satisfied but not enthusiastic. Yeah, I might put myself in that camp. That's fine. And then if you look at Mr. Trump, 29% are enthusiastic about Trump overall. 47% are just plumb upset about Trump. Half the country is upset about Trump. And for Biden, that same question was 28%. So 28% of the whole country upset about Biden, and 47% of the whole country. I mean, Jesus, when 47% of the country is upset, and not just dissatisfied, upset, because dissatisfied was a choice. However, when you look at age, you see some differences here. Like 65 and older are way more enthusiastic. 18 to 29, not so much. 1 out of 3 white people are enthusiastic about Trump. My brother Peter often tells me, like, hey, you know, Tom, I know a lot of I know this guy. He's a Black American and he loves Trump. So, you know, you guys are just fake news. I keep telling Peter, like, when you meet anecdotal folks at Trump rallies, it's not representative. Like, this is a poll of, I think, over 1,000 people, and only out of 1,000 sounds like 20 were enthusiastic of all of the Black people polled, at least. So less than 20 probably. 2% of Black people are enthusiastic, and 64% are upset. 65% of Hispanics are upset with this president. That's not a good one. If you're Trump, every year, these demographics are not in your favor. You do not want to have all of your support in one group. And if it is in one group, you generally don't want it to be the group that is shrinking. But Trump is a man who lives for today, so maybe he'll eke it out. 70% of Trump voters are enthusiastic. Now, we got to give credit. If for the people who are going to vote for Trump, they freaking love him. They love him. Like, we can't deny that. I mean, I don't understand why they love him so much now. I understood why they loved him before. I don't understand why they love him now. I don't feel like he's been at all making us great or winning. Seems like things suck and the buck should stop with him. And I know a lot of times the president talks about, like, well, you know, China foisted this on us, and Navarro is like, Chinese Communist Party infiltrated our country. And it's like, bro, that virus hit Europe first, hit the rest of Asia first. How come they don't have the same number of per capita deaths and infections as we do? How come they're not shut down as much as we are, and yet, you know, have fewer people dying? It's crazy. And my hypothesis is that national mitigation is as strong as the weakest compliance. And we have plenty of states that decided they didn't really want to play ball and wanted to reopen right away before the Europeans and folks in Korea and Taiwan were. And now look at us. All right. So that is the enthusiasm. Let's see. Confidence in the USPS. Confidence in mail. Ooh, how about fair election? Do you have confidence that the 2020 election will be held fairly? Oh, God, that's not good. basically 1 out of 3 say they have only a little or no confidence at all. Jesus. And luckily, majority feel like we will have a fair election, but just barely. About 52% or 53% feel like it'll be moderate quite a bit or a great deal of confidence. What group has the most suspicion? Male, female seems pretty similar. In terms of education, seems like the more educated, the more confident you are. But not that different. And then in terms of age, the more older you are, the more I would say bimodal it becomes. There's a ton of people who are confident and a ton of people who are convinced it's a little malarkey. Between races, similar skepticism among races. Maybe 1 out of 4 only have a little bit of confidence. 1 out of 4 whites. That's a little different than the other groups. I guess the whites seem a little bit less confident than the other groups. And then in terms of voters, a lot of Trump voters, I don't know. I'm not going to make a big difference here. It's pretty similar. Biden and Trump voters similarly confident, similarly suspicious. So yeah, that's the voter confidence. I think the last thing I'm going to do is, who do people think will win? Wow, look at that. Crazy. It's a coin flip according to this poll. 39% think Biden will win. 40% think Trump will win. And a huge part, 1 out of 5, have no idea. That's really interesting. That's really interesting. And then if you look at by voters, similar, 40, 40, 20. Wow. The ones who are voting for Trump seem more confident than the ones who are voting for Biden. And what's interesting is that more of the people polled believe that support Biden, but they are less confident that Biden will win. It's sort of like, well, if you saw the poll results, you would be more confident. So either they're just suspicious that Trump's going to pull some funny business, or they think that they're the only one supporting Biden. But in reality, more of the people polled are going to be supporting Biden than Trump. In fact, of those voting for Biden, more of them seem motivated because they really are unhappy with Trump. But 40% are mostly voting for Biden. 58% are voting against Trump. And then where's the $1 million question? If the election were held today, let's see. We got candidate enthusiasm. Election winner. Huh? Oh, man. There's like so many questions here. I don't have time to go through them. Well, we know from the high-level summary earlier that this Economist YouGov had Biden at 50 and Trump at 40. What the? My browser's going nuts. Biden at 50, Trump at 40. Okay. And then Hill had Biden at 46, Trump at 38. Rasmussen, a little closer, 48-44. CNN, a little closer, 50-46. So those are some of the polls. Here's what we're going to do next. We are going to do betting odds, and we're going to look at internet search trends. But before we do that, Nerd needs to fill this can with some liquid. So while I get that and we take a bio break, I am going to show you this video, which I think was pretty freaking awesome. If you missed it, enjoy it. It's a couple minutes long, but I think it's worth watching. So let me pull it up. It was the Joe Biden DNC convention, not his speech. His speech was fine. I thought he actually did really well, but his video biography was even more awesome. So let's see if I can pick it up. Yeah, here it is. Okay. What? No, that's Jill Biden's. Joe Biden convention intro video. You gotta love live streams. I'll have to find it from the full stream, but I'll get there. Where the heck is this? I found it. I found it. Okay, here we go. Sorry for that. I'm going to go get my beverage, but I'm going to give you guys a little video entertainment while you wait.
In moments both public and private, he's the father I've always known, the grandfather my children love and adore, my father, my hero, Joe Biden.
Our lives have been turned upside down, shattered and shaken. But the American story has had moments like this before. And he was there, answering the call.
When we came into office in 2009, we were going through what was then the worst financial and economic crisis since the Great Depression.
The economy was hemorrhaging hundreds of thousands of jobs a week. People were losing their homes to foreclosure. The financial system was in tatters. Auto sales had dropped to near zero levels.
The auto companies faced bankruptcy, and many said, let them fail. But Joe remembered his father and what it meant to lose a job. The Finnegans and Bidens were Irish Catholic. Joe was their first. And then his sister Valerie.
From the moment I opened my eyes, my big brother was there. The thing that was most important was family and family and family.
Joe's father struggled to find work in Scranton. But 140 miles south, there was a job cleaning boilers in Wilmington.
There was a long stairway up to the second floor. Dad went up to Joey in our bedroom and saying, Joey, you got to be a big boy.
For the first time, Joe saw the heavy burden on a father, and it was a lesson he would never forget.
The job is a lot more than a paycheck. It's about dignity.
The country was losing tens of thousands of jobs a day, and they needed 3 votes to pass the economic rescue package.
Joe Biden was handled the task of going to get those 3 Republican votes.
Joe returned to the place where he had been so effective.
Passionate argument, sympathetic listening, a willingness to make adjustments and accommodations to bring people on board.
When the law finally passed, the president tapped his partner to run the program. Joe tracked every dollar, calling mayors and governors.
Talking to them on the phone, one-on-one. He gave all of them his cell phone.
And I watched him bring his heart to that job. It matters that you have in your mind the family that you're trying to reach, the neighborhood that you're trying to reach, the people whose lives are affected by what you do.
The skills that had made him so effective had not come easy. When he entered school, there was a problem. Joe had a stutter.
And it's mortifying. It allows that child to become an object of ridicule.
When his teacher mimicked him and Joe ran home from school, his mother drove him back.
Did you say to my son, Mr. Biden? The nun said, I was just trying to make a point. My mother stood up, all 5'2" of her. If you ever talk to my son like that again, I'll come back and rip that damn bonnet off your head. Do you understand me? Joey, go back to class.
Joe resolved to overcome his stutter.
Some letters are harder than others. And I used to get up at night and go stand in front of the mirror with a flashlight and practice. She'd make me look her in the eye. Look at me. Remember, Joey, you're the smartest boy in that class. Nobody's better than you, Joey. From having to deal with stuttering, it gave me insight into other people's pain, other people's suffering.
At 19, Joe sought out a summer job that few of his peers considered taking.
He was a lifeguard along with the black lifeguards. That's when I first seen Joe, and we became friends.
It was one of the best things I've ever done because it gave me a sense that we really didn't know one another.
After Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, riots broke out in Wilmington, and the National Guard stayed for almost a year.
I quit the law firm and asked for a job to become a public defender. That's what sort of got me involved in politics.
J. Caleb Boggs was a popular war hero in a solidly Republican state, and few took Joe's campaign seriously.
In Delaware, the Democratic Party was non-functional. When it got time to put up a candidate, they didn't want to touch it. This young upstart, Joe Biden, who had a lot of ideas and no money, no influence, the party said, okay, well then go ahead, Biden, give it a whirl.
That's all I can ask. Just look, if you like what you see, help me out. If not, vote for the other fellow. Look me over if you would.
You know, we'd have a coffee and we'd come out of that, we'd have 5 more coffees. He was very articulate on the issues. He brought people to say, not just that, well, I agree with what you're doing, is, you know, what can I do to help?
Delaware is the first state. J. Caleb Boggs, who is the incumbent Republican, being challenged by Joseph Biden. Biden is a Democrat who's 29 years of age.
But exhilaration soon turned to tragedy.
I mean, it was clear he had decided that I'm not going to be a senator, that the boys need me too much.
I was prepared to walk away in 1973. But men like Ted Kennedy and Mike Mansfield and Hubert Humphrey and Fritz Hollings, Danny Inouye, they convinced me to stay. Just stay 6 months, Joe. Remember, Danny? Just stay 6 months.
He couldn't allow the suffering to debilitate him. That's like he couldn't allow the stuttering to define him. That's the backbone. There's something bigger than Joe's suffering.
The Senate turned out to be a wonderful place for him. He had a real gift for bringing people together.
The three of them had a bond that was forged in sorrow and expanded into joy when Jill entered.
They had built this beautiful family, this circle of trust.
And then the extra gift of Ashley.
Growing up, it was full of adventure, laughter.
We do everything as a family, and we've always done everything as a family.
He was always a good, loving father. I mean, there's nothing more important to Joe than his children.
It's hard to explain how ever-present he was in our lives.
You don't have to guess what my dad believes. The great benefit of being my father is that he doesn't have to contort himself into different people at different times.
Bo was going to do fine things. I mean, he had it all. And then he got sick. The whole world tilted. And it felt like we were all falling off.
Once again, Joe faced the unimaginable.
My mother, she said, bravery resides in every heart, and someday it will be summoned.
The way he survived losing my mom and my sister, and then losing my brother, is understanding that you have to have a purpose.
Every day I get up, I ask myself, I hope he's proud of me. Because that's the thing that makes me move on.
From his time in the Senate and then the White House, Joe always found a way forward, forging unlikely friendships and alliances. And time after time, he made progress possible, and always holding in his heart the struggles of his family and every family, always fighting to make his country whole.
It's a very rare quality to bring your empathy skills to the process of governing. Joe Biden never forgets that that's the point of moving the wheels of government.
He will keep his word. He will reach out and hear what other people have to say. To have somebody who believes in what's best in us, somebody like Joe Biden who actually believes in the American idea, that's the kind of person who I want in the White House.
I guess I should unmute myself before I speak. Sorry, guys. All right. I was just going to say, whether you're a Trump supporter or you're a hardcore Biden enthusiast, or you're like me, you know, kind of really was hoping for Yang, but, you know, ready to support Biden and am supporting Biden. That convention, freaking A+ for the DNC team that executed on that, the first ever kind of virtual convention. Like, that could have been a freaking disaster. But the combination of the live stuff, the tape stuff, and then the videos and the musical performances, I preferred it to the traditional conventions. And I've been watching political conventions since like the 80s, the 1980s. Yeah, I guess that would be obvious. At any rate, yeah, great convention. It'll be interesting to see what the RNC puts together. I will say it will be hard for the RNC to kind of present this kind of like diverse group of speakers, former presidents, senators, like people really put their neck out. I imagine the RNC will be less former presidents. I don't think George W. is a big Trump supporter. And I guess George H.W. is no longer around. And obviously I guess Reagan was before George H. So yeah, not a lot of former dignitaries that can speak on behalf of Trump. But I think the Trump convention will be all about cutting taxes, cutting regulation, increased drilling for fossil fuels, and then tough on trade or trade wars, however you want to describe it. Defeating ISIS, that's huge. You got to give the guy credit for that. And then maybe they'll talk about the 300 so miles of the wall that we built in the last 4 years. And then probably a lot of positioning the Democrats as like the Marxist anarchists, and law and order will be Trump's focus. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I will say they had it in North Carolina, then they moved it to Florida, and then I think now it's like kind of back in North Carolina, and then some of the speeches will be from the White House. So I am looking forward to the Republican convention. I can't wait to watch it. I will say that one thing that this Democratic convention did a pretty good job, at least convincing me, was that I do get this feeling like Biden is deep down inside a good person, and that he is a caring person, and that he won't like screw you. Which I cannot say the same for Trump. I think he would totally screw you. But at the same time, Biden was never a political kind of thoroughbred in presidential campaigns, because they were always like more exciting or more cerebral or more whatever than Biden. Biden was always like this folksy, nice guy. And but they say that every presidential election that wins is basically the opposite of the predecessor. And I think Biden's only strength, his biggest strength, is his humanity. He's a really good guy, and he cares, and he cares about friendships. He cares about people. He can feel. He has empathy. He suffered, right? He has some humility. Normally, that kind of thing is not that useful. But in this case, when you juxtapose it with Trump, who is basically the opposite, there's no humility, there's no self-awareness, there's no empathy, there's no loyalty, there's no friends, like there's no friendships, there's no love, then maybe this is sort of like the perfect time for Biden. Maybe had it not been for Trump, there would be no nominee Biden, because he can only really thrive in a race where his opponent is this soulless, egotistical, kind of narcissistic, crooked, untrustworthy person, right? Okay, let's get back to the data, because I'm sorry I went for my water break and then I went on this tangent. All right, so let's look at election betting odds. Oh, by the way, if you're watching this, please like it and share it. And if you somehow stumbled upon this stream and you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. It really does help. It helps me get more guests. Basically, the bigger this channel gets, the bigger guests I can get for my live stream interviews. All right, let's look at these election betting odds. It's not going to be a runaway race. You've got 56% chance of winning for Biden, 41% for Trump. So there you go. That's going to be this is going to be a nail biter as far as I'm concerned. Now, when you look at the states, look at North Carolina. It's basically a coin flip, 52-48 in terms of election betting odds, the inferred probability from betting odds. Arizona, very tight, leaning Democratic. And then Florida, wow, Florida looks like more likely Democrat than Republican, even though they have a Republican governor, DeSantis. And then you've got Ohio, not really not competitive for the Democrats. 60% chance Republican. Wisconsin looks like not going to go for Trump this time, 65% Democratic. So if you look at state by state betting odds, it suggests that, Trump may only get 220. And as a reminder, you need 270 to win. So looks like Biden more likely than Trump will win. But it's a lifetime between now and November 3rd, and who knows what kind of October surprises. Frankly, there'll probably be some September surprises. But that's and then in terms of Congress, Senate control more likely to be controlled by the Dems. So Mitch McConnell will no longer be Senate Majority Leader if the gamblers are right, at least as of now. And in terms of where you see the biggest chances of flippage, let's see, you could see North Carolina going Democrat, Maine, but then there are some red ones, like where Oklahoma, Arkansas, like this whole southeast area, pretty hardcore Republican. Probably the most interesting one might be North Carolina. Yeah. So overall, most gamblers think that it will go Democrat. But if you look at all of these betting odds, it will end up 50-50, which is nuts. So as right now, it's 53-47. So there's going to be three seats that will flip. Okay. And the House, almost 85% chance will remain Democrat. Those are some of the betting odds. And then let's see, Trump out. What is that? Oh, Trump out early? No, I think that's pretty clear that he will have his full term. Back in November of 2018, gamblers thought there was a 50% chance, I guess, because of the impeachment. All right. So that's your betting odds for you. And let's see here. Deborah is saying it's too close for comfort. Yeah, I feel you. Especially with the way the voting will be counted. Frankly, I'm more concerned about whether the country can get anything done after Biden is sworn in, or will we be in this like permanent state of gridlock because Trump will have convinced his 25 to 30% that the election was stolen and rigged, and the deep state and mail-in ballots, and where people were just like using like photocopiers and creating fake ballots and all this goodness. So yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like I'm less worried about Biden winning and just more worried about us as a country coming together. And I don't see Trump taking the high road and conceding. I see him leaving, kicking and screaming, which is good for his ego, but bad for the country. Okay, so what about search trends? You guys want to look at search trends? We'll look at search trends. Google Trends. Here we are. So let's see if we have any Democratic campaign. Donald Trump. compared to Joe Biden. All right, so more people searching for Trump than Biden. It looks like Biden had a little bit of a bump after the convention, about 3x the number of searches. And in terms of what people are searching for Trump, it is, and let's change this, not past 12 months. Let's look at the past 7 days. So you can see here, this is a clear Biden bump due to the convention. But typically, you see Trump getting more searches than Biden. What are people searching for Donald Trump? Robert Trump, cause of death. Trump Goodyear. How did Robert Trump die? Miles Taylor, Trump Goodyear tires. A lot about Robert Trump. Bannon Trump, Trump tweets, Trump third term. What the hell? How is that even possible? I don't think that's allowed based on the Constitution. Trump, California fires. And then if you look at what people are searching for Biden speech, Joe Biden DNC speech, Braden Harrington. I'm Joe Biden's husband. Joe Biden acceptance speech, Cardi B and Joe Biden. A lot of stuff on his speech, basically. Not surprising. Okay. So TLDR on the search stuff is nice little bounce for Biden. Most people looking for his speech. And then when it's for Trump, it's a lot about Trump's brother's passing. May he rest in peace. Now, let's look at, we'll look at media coverage in a second. But before we go to media coverage, I do want to quickly thank some of the supporters of this channel who are members. So let me just do a quick shout out to our members because you guys make this channel possible. And in fact, I have some exciting news. Next week, if you listen to the Yang Speaks podcast, you are going to hear a ad for the Nerds for Humanity channel. Basically, I talked to our members and I said, hey, if I took all of the money we get from channel members for the next 6 months, I could probably pay for an ad on the Yang Speaks podcast. That will go to Humanity Forward, so it goes to a good cause. And it could help grow the Nerds channel. And if we can grow the Nerds channel, then I can more effectively do 2 things. Attract big-time interviews like senators and governors and stuff. And then 2, the channel would then have a bigger audience to support congressional candidates and other kind of like humanity forward stuff. So we'll see if Yang, Deborah makes a good point. There's a script that Andrew will read. Whether he reads it exactly or whether he really puts oomph into it, we'll see. But hopefully, people will listen to his podcast and learn about the Nerd Zone here because of it. And so I just want to thank some of our members. So let me just quickly share my screen one more time. All right. So at the EVP level, Kristen Slevin, who is a big supporter of this channel for the last 7 months. Thank you, Kristen. At the VP level, I want to, thank VLAM, JM Sat, Fat Lamb, Chris Chan, Joshua Frick, Arkansas for Yang, and Patrick Dunn. At the next level down would be Hardcore. And we've got Mike, Gene, Mrs. Jones, David, Tracy, DK, Landline, Koa, Phoenix, Jackalego, Kirsch, Mr. History Fan, Byram, Mona, and Susan Clifton, who just joined. Welcome, Susan. This is a cow. I don't have the Nerd's Gong. It's in my sea shipment from Switzerland, which has not arrived yet. But I have my Swiss cow. So thank you, Susan, for becoming a member. And then at the verified level, the kind of entry-level nerds, still important. We have Sydney, Lisa, Sugar, Albert, Brandon, Yes, Brian, Peter, Arez, Hitachi, Your Maman, Gail, Jedwiga, Sophia, Shake and Make, Mike, Doris, Miles, Mercy Ann, Emerald, Soldier, Emily, Elizabeth, Nell, Lori, Ben, Roger, Richard, Lisa, Per, and Christina. So you guys all rock. You help make this content possible. You make the screen here possible, this mic possible, the mic arm possible, the camera possible, and now you're going to make an ad on the Yang Speaks podcast possible. Please do not cancel your subscription for the next 6 months because I had to pay it all up front. So I'm assuming that these members will stay around so that I can get paid. So it wasn't completely out of my pocket. But initially it's on my credit card, but I know the members will hook me up. All right. So now let's look at media coverage. So we can go share screen, GDelt. Okay. So here we're going to look at the campaign coverage, let's say for the past week. Obviously, we would expect a strong convention bounce in media coverage. However, there were more mentions on CNN, MSNBC, Fox of Trump than there were of Biden. I mean, Trump is just hard not to talk about. That guy always is doing and saying crazy stuff. You can see here, but when you add up Biden and Harris, I think you get a little more coverage than Trump. And oh, look, Yang even got some mentions, almost as much as Booker and more than Buttigieg and de Blasio and Castro and Bloomberg. Look at that. Finally, I think speaking at the DNC was a big deal. So thank you to all the Yang gang who put pressure on the DNC to include Yang. I thought he did great. I love Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I think she was hilarious. She's awesome. And thank you to Ted Lieu, member of Congress, who also put pressure on the DNC to include Yang. So it was a joint effort between the Yang gang and many other members of public servants, including Ted Lieu, and there were a few other folks, but I know Ted Lieu was out front. ABC, in terms of network evening news, more Trump than Biden. When you add up, even more than Biden and Harris combined. About equal in terms of ABC, CBS, and NBC. And this is the evening news mentions. You see a lot of interest in Harris and, of course, Biden over this past week. And then in terms of online news, more coverage of Trump than Biden and Harris. And there's the visualization. That Trump, the guy is just a media magnet. Chiron's more Trump mentions than Biden and Harris. And it's not just it's not just Fox that loves to talk about Trump. CNN and MSNBC, they can't help themselves. They mention Trump more than Fox, frankly. And then for Biden, you have more mentions of Biden on Fox than you do on MSNBC. So I guess each party's kind of favorite network likes to talk smack about the other one. I will say that if 31, no. Yeah. I was going to say, like, no, there's no network that covers them equally. You either love one or the other. This is the Chiron mention visualization. So yeah, that's the media mentions. And then I think the last thing I wanted to do, let me just see what's going on in the chat. I haven't been up there in a while. Jason, quick. It's a few grand. So it's serious money. So please, if you are not a member and you want to get Tom out of debt for the Yang ad, consider becoming one today. Also, super chats are great as well. Next, Lou. Yes, thank God Yang got more coverage than Pete. Oh yeah, Jason, you're very close, sir. I would hire you as an analyst. And let's see. Let's look at the Twitter stuff. I do want to talk about the Twitter stuff. So I'm gonna share with you what I've been talking about on Twitter, because I'm a little more active on Twitter, obviously, than YouTube, just because it's so easy to tweet. So by the way, follow me at Nerds for Yang if you haven't. I can't change it to Nerds for Humanity. It's too much of a pain in the butt. With Twitter, you can't just change your handle easily. So let's see. Well, that's this live stream. Oh, dudes, did you guys know that Bannon was hanging out on a freaking like $28 million yacht owned by a Chinese billionaire? I just find that completely ironic. I mean, there's nothing wrong with hanging out on a billionaire's yacht. But if they're from China and you're always talking about globalists and elites and, the China, as the greatest threat, I don't know. I don't know if I'd be spending a lot of time on those yachts. But that's what he does. That's what Steve Bannon does. Oh, I'm frozen. All right, here we go. Back. Okay, me retweeting someone talking about Biden. Oh yeah, then I was talking about this USC, this bribing people to get the kids into college. What is the deal with USC? Why are these people paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to have their kids go to USC? That's weird. I don't know. I just found that strange. I mean, if you're gonna bribe someone, I don't know about USC, but anyway, that was weird. Okay, yeah, this is me talking about, hey, what will Trump? We saw that Biden bio video. Like, you really couldn't do a similar one about Trump's relationships with his family and, his longtime friends and his fight for kind of like justice and equality. I don't think that would be a very compelling video for Trump. I don't think you could even put one together. Oh, and then there was talk about Trump's tax return. So did you guys hear that a federal judge ordered Trump to honor a subpoena for him to hand over his tax returns for a criminal investigation? And now Trump is saying he's going to argue it to the Supreme Court. And I don't know if you guys remember, but back in 2016, he said that he would be happy to release his taxes, but for some kind of audit. But that audit would be done soon. As soon as it was done, he would release his tax returns. Is that audit still going on? Is that like a 10-year audit? And secondly, even if you are under audit, you can still release your tax returns. It doesn't really stop the audit from happening. So it's just strange. Like, as a guy who's all in favor of law and order, and if you have nothing to hide, then release the tax returns. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, here's another one. I actually have a number of MAGA friends. I was talking to one of them yesterday saying, hey, did you see Biden's speech? And the person said, well, I saw enough of it. And I was like, what does that mean? He's like, well, I saw excerpts of it. They talked about it on Fox and Friends. And I think that's part of the problem. Like, I think I plan on watching Trump's entire convention, not just his speech. And I think it's just important for us to hear both sides. But I don't know. If we took a poll of Trump voters who watched Biden's full speech and Biden voters who will watch Trump's full speech, I think both will be a low number. I think everybody likes to watch their own team play. But I actually think the Trump ones will be the worst. I think they're just going to be like, oh, Lazy Joe, or what was they call him? Sleepy Joe. I don't want to watch him. But if you watch that speech that Joe gave yesterday, dude, that guy was not sleepy. I got sleepy watching it. It was like so long. But he really did a great job. I thought he performed really well with this speech. And he seems to be able to read English way better than President Trump. Let's see. This is me talking about. Oh, yeah. Remember Trump's inauguration speech about like the American carnage? And it's just ironic that this is a guy who said he alone can save us from the great Obama American carnage. And now we're just like, he always talks about, oh, we're going to be a laughingstock if he doesn't win. Newsflash, like, I don't think the rest of the world is looking up to the U.S. and certainly not in terms of how we've been handling this COVID thing. But yeah, so the guy who said he was going to save us from the American carnage is presiding over literally almost 200,000 deaths, that many of which I think could have been avoided had we just done the mitigation right from the beginning and avoided this premature reopening of the economy. All right, so that's the Twitter stuff. I think we're gonna wrap it up. But if you guys, anybody have any questions for me or topics you want us to hit before we go ahead and put them in the chat now. And before you go, don't forget to like and share the stream if you thought it was useful, and consider joining as a member. Who was it? Someone said something pretty funny here. Lou is saying, I need the freedom dividend. Yeah, man. If I had the freedom dividend, I would be advertising the Nerds channel. Shit, I would take that money and give it as an honorarium to get more guests. Because as much as I love doing these data deep dives, I really enjoy the interviews we get to do. And I will admit, I've asked to try and get like Mitt Romney on the show. I would love to get like the Unity 2020 guy. Is it Eric Weinstein, or one of the Weinstein brothers? But I don't think they want to come on because we're kind of, not the hugest channel. We got 15,000 subscribers, which I think is amazing, but I think we need bigger numbers to attract bigger guests. But yeah, so that's that. let's see. Tom, please cover all of Trump's deregulations. Oh, let me see if I can quickly pull up a list. I bet there's a list out there. Trump deregulations. If not, I will. Ooh, sweet. The Brookings Institution. Love it. Okay. If you guys want, let's do a quick one. Oh, sorry. Yes, it was Brett Weinstein. Yeah, I've been trying to get Brett on and anyone from the official Unity 2020 thing on the show forever to kind of ask some hard questions, and have a thoughtful conversation, but we've never been able to get them to reply or engage with us. So, all right, let's look at, I'm going to do this special request from Andrew Yang for Prez. Whoops. Where the hell was it? Oh, Marcus, man. Marcus was one of the early dogs, I believe, that supported the channel. All right. Yeah, Andrew Yang for Prez. You want to cover deregulations? Luckily, the power of the internet, I have it. So let's take a look. I haven't looked at these myself, but let's take a look together. So luckily, the Brookings Institution has summarized them all. There's a lot, so we're going to say noteworthy only. And then we're going to say status in effect. Okay. So endangered species. It looks like conserving threatened habitats. I guess revisions weakening the Endangered Species Act. Yes. Weakening the Endangered Species by revising regulations that implement portions of the Endangered Species Act. And U.S. Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross said they fit squarely with the president's mandate of easing the regulatory burden on the American public. So if you believe that these animal kind of protection rules have gone too far and they're breaking the back of business, then you will be very happy. If you believe that we should do more to protect endangered species, then this is probably not the president for you. The other one was, okay, then it goes into that looks like also about plants and critical habitats. Prohibitions to threaten wildlife, reduction in scope of that one, definition of habitat, change the definition of the habitat. Critical habitat, proposing the following definition: the physical places that depend on and carry out one or more life processes. So it's kind of narrowing the scope of what's protected. Basically, a ton of endangered species stuff. So that's one. NEPA rollbacks, National Environmental Protection Act. Okay, signed into law by Nixon. Now, Trump requires agencies to approve environmental reviews, directing the revisions to modernize. I don't know. It establishes a 2-year deadline for agencies to prepare environmental impact statements. It also expected to limit the role of climate change. It eliminates the requirements for agencies to consider the cumulative effects and restrict the analysis to only effects with close causal relationships. Okay, so less time to do the environmental impact statement, and you're not allowed to consider cumulative effects. So it's only like the immediate impact. So again, if you're big on the environment, it's probably not for you. Executive order expediting infrastructure during COVID-19. Well, that looks like a good thing. We should give them credit for that. I think that's good. Yeah, more infrastructure. Good on you, President Trump. Title IX sexual assault regulations. Title IX prohibits discrimination on basis of sex in education programming to receive federal funding. And the new regulations only will hold schools responsible when their response to sexual harassment complaints is clearly unreasonable. So if it's just sexual harassment that is maybe unclearly unreasonable, then I guess it wouldn't have as many problems from a regulatory point of view. Schools are allowed to choose the evidentiary standard between preponderance to clear and convincing evidence in holding accused students responsible. Rape shield protections would be extended to victims. I think that's good. Yeah. So basically, it narrows the scope of complaints that colleges are required to investigate when it comes to sexual assault. That doesn't sound great. But if you feel like Title IX went too far, then Trump is your man. If you feel like sexual assault should be more aggressively investigated, then maybe this deregulation would not be something you want. Waters of the U.S. expands which bodies of waters fall under federal jurisdiction, which are protected under the Clean Water Act. Yeah, this one looks like basically reducing the number of waterways that are protected. So that's the water stuff. Revised costs. So clean air. So it undermines the implementation of the mercury and air toxic standards, which affect coal burning power plants. So it basically suggests that mercury is not as dangerous in the air as maybe previously thought. Okay, so that's if you support more coal burning and you're not worried about mercury, then you would be very happy with this deregulation, and vice versa. And then you have expedited removal of undocumented immigrants. Oh, Obamacare. So basically saying that states have more flexibility to take the ACA subsidies and distribute them maybe in ways that are not designed for the original Obamacare. Exemptions from contraceptive coverage for religious organizations. So those are some examples of I would say the biggest, a couple things. If I say unchecked noteworthy only, most of the claimed Trump deregulation things, well, actually, there's quite a few once you uncheck the noteworthy ones. Let's scan if there's any more interesting ones that... So we talked about the endangered stuff. Hunting and trapping. So they used to ban hunting in Alaskan national preserves, and now you can harvest brown bear, coyote pups, swimming caribou. You can use dogs now to hunt black bears. What else? Air quality regulations in the outer continental shelf. The new rule does not relax any standards for regulating air quality. It uses the best available science and makes important technical and compliance-related updates. That sounds suspicious, but well, maybe it's true. We talked about Title IX. Talked about the water stuff. What in the Sam Hill? Electric detonators? Medical mines. Oh, metal mines. The Mine and Health Administration revising safety standards for explosives. Okay. Probably, I'm guessing the mining industry would be happy about that. I don't know if the mine workers would be okay with that, but that's that. Yeah, I find that like energy conservation standards, it's a lot of stuff that's relaxing things meant to protect things, if I had to summarize. So, yeah, I don't know. Oh, solid waste landfills. Finalize a rule to amend the emission, blah, blah. Looks like there's going to be less requirements for monitoring, reporting, and record keeping for landfills. Okay. So again, you know, less red tape, one could argue, or less protection for the environment. The whole thing seems to be mostly about the environment. So much about the environment. And then dismantling Obamacare. So yeah, that's hog carcass cleaning. What in the Sam Hill? Removing the provision requiring the cleaning of hog carcasses. Why would you not want to clean the hog carcass before eviscerating them? Shouldn't the body of the hog be cleaned? I don't know, but you don't have to. So if you're in the hog eviscerating business, go ahead and eviscerate it with all the poop still on it. Lowering renewable fuel standards. Lower volume targets for renewable fuels. Okay. Not sure that's a good thing, but if you don't believe that there should be more renewable fuel, you'll be very happy with what President Trump has done. Oh, we got to give credit on he has done some good stuff on, where was it? There was some COVID stuff I saw, like telehealth. Electrical shock protection rule. A rule giving electric car manufacturers more flexibility to design technology that protects against electric shock. Okay. Oh, okay. Basically, there used to be a rule that required either electrical isolation or a low voltage option if you're an electric car and you get into a crash. But now there's a third option, which is you can just have a physical barrier, and it prevents direct contact with the electricity, and that's good enough. I don't know. So I'm guessing the car industry would be happy about that. Fast tracking of natural gas exports. Ooh, shortening the enrollment period for signing up for Obamacare. That's kind of a jerk move, but yeah. At any rate, I don't know if anybody's still there that cares about the deregulations, but you got it, my friend. I think it was Jason who asked for it. But yeah. Oh, someone was asking, what does Sam Hill refer to? I think it's from Jumanji, when one of the characters, he says, "What in the Sam Hill?" And I don't know why. I thought it was it stuck with me. All right, folks, it's almost 2 hours. Tomorrow, no nerds content, but on Sunday, as a reminder, let me just show you what we got coming up on Sunday and what we have coming up on the show in general, because I think you'll like it. Let's see. Your channel. Okay. Go to upcoming live streams. So on Sunday, we have Antoine Pierce running for Senate in Louisiana. Antoine is Yang endorsed, and he's going to run for the Senate, which is always exciting. What the heck? These are dupes. I'll remove one of those. Then we have the Catherine Gell, author of American The Politics Industry, How Political Innovation Can Break Partisan Gridlock and Save Our Democracy. So that should be an interesting one. I think she's probably pretty smart. And then we've got a number of future candidates coming up, but they're not yet being displayed here. But one of them would be Liam, and looks like Mike Madrid from New York. So don't forget to subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. Brandon should give us a video of his new aquarium. Yeah. Oh, shoot. Let me show you guys quickly a picture of one of the animals in Brandon's aquarium, which is very popular because it's not a fish. Not a fish. Let's see if I can find a picture of it. Here it is. Crazy. Whoops. Where's the camera? See that? That's a blue crayfish. Crazy, huh? All right, guys. It's late. Have a great Friday night. Have a great weekend. See you Sunday. Keep it real. Goodbye, nerds.